everyone. That was the original found footage, if you will, the legendary Patterson Gimlin, I believe it's pronounced Gimlin, right? Yeah, Gimlin film, the first documented image of our dear friend Bigfoot. Yes, the sound. Yeah, I can see people asking in the chats.
Hello, everyone. That was the.
Sorry about that.
I did the same thing.
Little bit of advice for all you people out there who are going to be doing videos and stuff on your own. Make sure your phone is muted. Anyway, as I was saying before I interrupted myself, actually, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of From One Side to the Other. We have everything working again because we're using the good software, unlike last week. Boy, I feel bad. He was a great guest. I loved having Phoenix here. But, boy, howdy, that streaming software. Ugh, I cannot endorse that. Hello, Mr. Bishop. Hello, Mom. Hello, Dad. Real quick, before we go any further, there is a grave injustice that I have to correct. Last week, somebody said something that was kind of off color, a little bit inappropriate, and ended up kind of, crossing someone that I deeply personally respect and admire quite a lot. So I'm just going to address this right now and get this done and over with. My dad, Chet, is absolutely one of, if not my biggest fan. Last week I neglected to mention him, and I'm very sorry that I did that. Always glad to have him here. He's always here every week. He was our original special guest, actually. But anyway, I just wanted to address that before we get into anything else. So tonight, what are we talking about? We're talking about skepticism and debunkers. Now, I've always said that you can't just blindly believe things. You have to question things. You have to not lose your head. However, there is another side to that coin. Yes, you shouldn't lose your head. You also shouldn't just throw your head into the sand. Blind skepticism or denial is equally as bad as blind acceptance. It's the same problem, just going in different directions. This is a very commonly what you see with skepticism is what I refer to as the ghost that only I can see and hear. We've all heard that, Oh, actually, Peterson, the man who filmed the Bigfoot footage, before he died, he told me that he actually faked it. You hear that all the time. And we'll discuss it more in a minute. But I wanted to open up with Peterson Gimlin, excuse me. I keep wanting to say Gimli. Respect for Tolkien. Anyway, but this footage has been around. It was filmed in 1967 without looking. A lot of people say it is the original cryptid footage. It is the footage that started the whole subject of the topic in the first damn place. Obviously, the image of Bigfoot itself is iconic. But a lot of people have taken a swing at debunking this video, which is, I find it hilarious. Because you know how they say when you cut into a tree, you see the rings, and the rings will tell you how old it is? If you look at the I used to say giblets. Anyway, though. If you cut a tree open, you can see the rings, and the rings tell you how old it is. You can kind of look at the different criticisms that this video has gotten originally, and you can see the different generation gaps. But I have great news. I am told by the bishop and Choopy that we actually have an exclusive submission of Bigfoot evidence from an expert, and I believe we have his stuff ready, right, Bishop? Okay, so let's not make anyone wait any longer. Roll it.
Hi, I'm a Bigfoot expert. I have actually gotten photographic evidence of Bigfoot Bigfoot. Now, some people say that my evidence is fake. It's not as fake as that Patterson-Gimlin film. Now, the Patterson-Gimlin film, there are those out there who want to believe, but the reason it's fake, clearly, is because the Bigfoot in the film, its butt cheeks are not spread, indicative of a primate fleeing animalism. As it's running away, it looks too much like a human. Too much like a human. And since that Bigfoot didn't spread its buttocks and run away like a jackass, obviously, the Patterson-Gimlin film, clearly a fake. Now, my evidence is still based. I wasn't recording video. I was out here at the truck stop. I was taking pictures of bugs and skeeters and bunny rabbits and everything with my camera, and I was just walking, peaceful day, and there was Bigfoot, and I quickly snapped a picture because it was running away. It wasn't running like a human, and its buttocks was spread wide. I was so scared. I'm a Bigfoot expert. Patterson-Gimlin film, fake.
What in the unformed king's name was that? That was your Bigfoot expert? I can't help but notice he's being quiet in the corner now. The bishop is ashamed, apparently. Oh my.
I think he was actually very credible in what he was saying. I mean, a little bit.
This is why you are in the corner and I'm in front of the camera. Oh my good. Oh my.
I mean, he did say a couple things to
okay.
everything wrong, but he was a good guy.
Oh. Okay. Nope. I'm taking matters into my own hands. Don't worry, folks. We're not depending on him. He's the 8th child in a family of 7. I have an expert on Bigfoot and this particular footage on call. Hold on a second here. I'm going to get her. Gotta do everything myself around here.
Trying.
Hello?
Hello.
Mom?
Yes.
Hi, Mom. So,
Hi, darling.
the bishop kind of blew a hole in my show's plan with his Bigfoot expert. Hopefully everyone can hear you. But I decided to take matters into my own hands. Oh, that is very unclergy-like, Bishop. Anyway, and I decided to have you on instead so we could talk a bit about Bigfoot and the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Patterson.
Patterson? It's Patterson?
Patterson.
Patterson.
Patterson. That's why they named that Bigfoot Patty.
Do you have...
They call her Patty.
Okay, yeah. Hey, Mom, would you mind turning your computer or phone or whatever you're watching the show on down so we don't get an echo?
Yeah.
Cool.
I do.
Good. Thank you. Wonderful. Now, but yeah, people have tried to take this video down for decades now. I think my personal favorite, though, was, I was talking to you earlier about this, actually, that the Professor Bernard, I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, Huevos Rancheros? I don't know what the hell his last name was. I don't know. He said that it couldn't be real because, and I quote, by the way, this is a real quote, the buttocks was insufficiently spread, indicative of a creature fleeing from man. So let's start with that outlandish comment. What is your expertise in this matter?
I'm not a professor, but I have seen many different kinds of animals run away, and you have to keep in mind the Bigfoot is not just an animal. It's possibly the closest thing to a human do humans spread their butt cheeks when they run? So, lots of animals I've seen, they do not spread their butt cheeks. They just run. This one was caught off, by surprise, and she just wanted to get out of there. So she took off walking, looked back to see if anybody was following her or if she was going to get away.
Yeah,
and he's lucky, because if he followed her, she might wanted to turn around and defend herself.
Yeah,
she's a big girl. Yeah.
Now I've heard people say that's actually a female, because you can see the bust.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it out loud. This Bigfoot has boobs.
Yep.
There we go. The bishop
they call her Patty.
Patty. See, that I have not heard.
Patty, after
the bishop.
They named her Patty because they believe it's a girl. And keep in mind, this is a very old video from 1967. It's on little 8mm film. It's not digital. It's not VHS. So it would be extremely hard for him to fake it. He was at the end of his film. He didn't have any more. That was another reason why he didn't run after her. But, I mean, for over 50 years, they've been trying to debunk this. And they absolutely cannot. They have experts all over, from the animal encrypted kingdom to the film industry kingdom. They just do not see a flaw in this. It's got muscle. The hair moves independently. The animal itself has little or no neck. So when something turns its head to look, if it doesn't have a neck, it turns its whole shoulders, just like she did.
Yeah, but you can see it.
So, I mean, they've had experts in the animal say that type of animal with that little or no neck would have to turn the whole upper torso. They've taken a man, an athletic man, put him in a suit with the ping pong balls so they could follow him and trace his steps, and tried to make him mimic the way she ran with her knees bent. Humans can't maintain it. Instinctively, our legs just straighten, and it's very awkward and uncomfortable. For a human to have been in a suit out there in the middle of nowhere, they are miles deep into the forest. They've horseback ridden for weeks. For a man to be out there in a suit and maintain that bent knee stride that primates do would have been impossible in that kind of rough and rocky terrain.
Oh yeah, yeah. This was
and we're that thing in the heat.
Yeah, this was taken
October.
This was taken in Northern California, wasn't it? Near the
up there near Eureka.
Yeah.
Willow Creek.
Willow Creek, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
See, that's something that I thought was funny, because when you look into this, they have every single detail you could imagine about this video. That they can, when you look it up, they could tell you the exact kilometers and the time of day and everything, which is very strange, because hoaxes kind of usually fall back on being vague. You could literally
They've had experts look at this film, go out and find that exact location, line up a camera, and measure the trees in the distance, so they were in the exact spot that Patterson was, and they measured, and that primate would have been over 7 foot tall. And I mean, they've gone to so much detail to find all this information out. For over 50 years, they have been researching this. And I can't believe they can't just say it's real.
That's
because now
you're saying, sorry, I cut you off there. You were saying, yeah.
All these years later, 50 plus years later, they have so many more, so much more evidence with film, with footprints, with hair and blood, and they really can't just say it is real. There is a town in New York, the state, they have them up there too,
well, yeah.
that they have passed a law. You cannot hunt and shoot a Bigfoot.
Well, you shouldn't.
Because they believe that strongly.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's funny. I was actually kind of in my notes. I was writing down. Um, there's almost like this insanity when it comes to, especially this particular footage. I wrote down in my notes. It's like Lovecraftian almost. In a lot of Lovecraft stories, people, they deny that they saw like Cthulhu or some other monster. People like when they watch this footage, these experts for whatever reason, they have to deny it. It has to be fake. It must be fake, even if it's the dumbest excuse in the world. It has to be fake because the butt cheeks aren't spread. They just
Well, a
need
lot
it.
of them, it's like the UFO thing. They're afraid to admit it because they're afraid they're going to be laughed at and ridiculed, and especially the professors. They're supposed to be the higher intelligent, teaching our up-and-coming people, and you believe in Bigfoot? Are you crazy? There goes your tenure. So a lot of them don't talk about it, and a lot of people, even just hometown people, are afraid to say they saw it because people will laugh at you. And it's just finally starting that there are groups that try to track this down. They have no intentions of shooting and killing. They just want to gather the evidence. They just want to prove it. And they're coming out with all kinds of, the cameras that can see the heat signatures, and they're using drones and all kinds of stuff because they want to capture this. They want to make sure it's not harmed, but they want to let people know you can say you saw it if you saw it. You're not crazy.
Absolutely not. No. Yeah, that's something that always kind of annoyed. Oh no. Oh dear. I think we actually lost her. Yeah, oh crud. Sorry about that, folks. We're having some technical difficulties. I wish I could explain how not funny you are. Hold on here. Hold on. She's an expert Bigfoot, not a phone expert. Okay, people, be nice to her. Oh dear.
Hello. Oh, now we've got the submarine bait.
Hello?
Are you there?
I'm here. Are you?
Wow, what is that noise?
I have no idea, but you just disappeared. You just hung up for a second.
Yeah, it hung up. Now it's making weird noises on my end.
That is odd.
Oh, he's going to come and save me.
Are you back? Answer me.
I did, and I'm talking to him, but it wants me to... See? Are you there?
I'm here. I'm here, Mom.
Okay. I think it wanted me to accept the video chat.
Oh, okay.
That's not going to happen.
Well, he can see you.
Yeah.
He has a computer guy there.
Oh my God. My wonderful mother. But anyway.
Yeah.
Oh no. I did not hang up on her.
No, we heard the click on her.
Oh, something might be wrong with the weather over there. Well, hold on a second.
It's ringing now.
It's ringing. Hold on.
It's ringing. He's answering.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. Hopefully this will stay and behave itself.
Okay. I'll keep it a little bit away from my face. Maybe I'm touching something.
Anyway, though, what were we saying? We got cut off. Yeah, you were saying how, like, it's, for a long time it was kind of unacceptable to believe in Bigfoot, and people thought you were crazy and stuff like that, and, that's something I kind of talked to a little bit before in a previous episode about how, like, for years they said Area 51's not real. Area 51 doesn't exist,
Right.
People lived their whole lives saying that it was real. They went to their graves saying it was real, and it was denied. And then just
Yep.
like no big deal.
Just
They just
recently.
what was it, like 07, I think? I don't know, but just some years ago they just stopped to deny and say it was true. And maybe that's what's going to happen with Bigfoot. I don't know, but
Yeah, because I mean, there are thousands of stories. There are stories about soldiers during the Mount St. Helen eruption, that there were soldiers, American Army soldiers, that were out there on that mountain, and supposedly their mission was to, help any people that were out there. But there were soldiers that came back with stories that they were collecting Bigfoot bodies. They were medically helping injured Bigfoots and returning them. The government knows about them, and they simply do not want them to be known because the logging industry would not be able to continue. Look what happened when that little owl was on the endangered species list.
I remember that.
It almost killed the logging industry. Can you imagine if they said you can't hurt Bigfoot's environment, so you can't log here, or I mean, from one coast to the other coast, the logging industry would be destroyed.
That is
So the government is keeping it quiet because they've got their pockets lined with logging money. They invest in the industry and they make money on it.
it's
So,
creepy.
you
It's
got the
creepy.
government battling you.
It's
Yeah.
kind of creepy.
You got
You always hear about the government being, in bed with like pharmacy and oil and stuff like that. I think about it, it is kind of eerie that you don't hear about big logging or big lumber.
But they are.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's like,
It's a huge industry
why don't you ever?
from
Yeah.
one coast to the other, and don't think that those politicians haven't invested in logging companies and make millions.
Yeah. No. It's one of those things. I'm kind of surprised. I've never thought about it actually. But yeah, no.
Yep.
Lumber. I mean,
Yep.
we'd have to. Tara being a smart
We
aleck.
have to have it.
We'd have to build our
It's
houses.
for-
Well, yeah.
We use it for building everything.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that we don't need lumber for, all the way down to our toilet paper.
This is true.
So
These are things.
don't mess with the log.
Don't mess with the loggers. I have to be honest here. When we started out talking about Bigfoot's butt cheek spreading, I didn't expect to go into the conspiracy
around.
of lumber mills, big lumber. We're gonna have. Oh my God! I just realized we have the Men in Black. We're gonna have lumberjacks in black.
Yep.
But
Yep.
okay. But yeah, and we have another picture here. So I'm just going to embarrass the bishop here because he kind of embarrassed me. Have you ever noticed how fat this Bigfoot is? Patty is a big girl. We have a picture of her up on the
Think for a
screen.
moment. They mention that she has breasts. Maybe she's pregnant.
I've heard stories about Bigfoots picking up trees and boulders and stuff like that. And then I think of a pregnant woman.
Yep.
And I think I would not want a pregnant woman to be able to pick up a boulder or a tree and throw it at me. That's a terrifying thought. We've talked about alien abduction, demonic possession. I can sincerely say, nothing that we've discussed on this show has ever made me pause for thought more than the idea of a pregnant woman that can hurl a boulder at me.
Yep.
That's the real scary thing.
And think about it. They say that Bigfoots actually have a language. They've recorded chattering. They have those whoops and hollers and howls. That's
Yep.
probably a girl Bigfoot giving birth.
That is... Wow.
Scary.
Yeah, I'm trying desperately not to think about that, actually. But
Yep.
But yeah, the Patterson Gimlin film. It's
Yep.
yeah, it's kind of interesting how it's just never. Someone in the chat is asking what led you to learning about Bigfoot and believing so much in it. Like what people are asking that. What was your origin?
I'll date myself. Back in the 70s, I was a little girl, and a movie came out called The Legend of Boggy Creek. And it is based on fact of a Bigfoot that terrorized a family in Fouke, Arkansas. And it reached in through a window, tried to grab a girl. A couple of the big men went outside with guns to get it, and it threw this man around. They took him to the hospital. The next day, they had a U-Haul in their yard. They had the cops out there, and whatever it was that attacked them, they weren't going to spend another night there. And it was a Bigfoot. Well, this fascinated me. It was a monster. It was like a real monster.
Yeah.
My dad, your grandfather, who we know never, ever says anything untrue, he told me Bigfoot was real. And, I mean, God has spoken. I believed him without any question, without any doubt. And I have loved and I've been fascinated by any of the shows that come up with the documentaries about Bigfoot. And now with YouTube, oh my God, I can just sit all day long and watch. I mean, I've never seen a Bigfoot, and I'm kind of torn whether I'd like to or not, because they kind of scare me. But most of the encounters are, them running away. There are a few stories about being attacked, being chased out of the woods, hunters that spend a horrible night in a cabin or in a tent with Bigfoot all around, terrorizing them. But you know what? You stay out of his yard and he'll stay out of your way.
Yeah,
you're out there in his yard.
It's kind of like the shark-infested water paradox. It's like there's no such thing as shark-infested water. It's their freaking home.
Yeah.
I remember...
My favorite story is this man. He was out bow hunting for deer. And he's up in a chair, up on a tree.
Yeah.
He's 10 feet up in the air. And Bigfoot comes along. Now, what are you going to do? You're 10 feet up in the air. You cannot run, and you can't fly. So he just sat there quietly. And that Bigfoot came up and touched his foot.
Boop.
10 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
Just reached up and touched his foot. I guarantee you, his cushion was wet. Then it touched the tip of his arrow and let out a little scream and ran off. That would be the end of my hunting life. I would get down and go home in the opposite direction. But see, he just had an encounter. It wasn't, terrorizing and horrible. It was just curious. What are you doing in my yard, and what are you doing up there in my tree?
I remember Grandpa told me how he loved Harry and the Hendersons, and he told me that
he laughed so hard he cried.
Yeah, he always told me it was
because he just had open heart surgery, and he still had a lot of pain in his chest when he laughed. And he laughed so hard, and then he'd cry, and then he'd laugh. Oh my goodness. One of his favorite movies.
I remember because I asked him about that, and he always said that he loved that movie so much because that's how they really are. They're not savage or snarling or vicious at all. They're strong, they're huge, but they're not monsters in the slightest. Oh, we have another guest here. Dad, can you hear us?
Am I on?
Go!
Yes, you accidentally hit the button.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You are live, just like my heart rate. Good boogly moogly. I have the volume turned max up so that, I can make sure the radio can hear you. Wow.
I have, hold on, let me do this. All right, there we go. I have watched your mother literally debunk videos from the couch. they'll be playing a video of Bigfoot, and I have literally seen her debunk them from the couch.
You know what's funny is
Yeah, I mean,
that's a favorite
I'm
pastime.
not crazy. I don't think they're all real. I mean, if it's a baby bear, I see it, and I'll admit it, and it's like, oh, that's a baby bear. But there are people, and they know what a bear looks like.
Yeah,
And there is a big difference.
there is. No, me and the bishop, a lot of times we'll watch ghost videos and debunk it and stuff. I always say the first question you should ask is always, what can it be? Like, don't lose your head.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, yes, we all would love to see a Bigfoot. We would all love to have a personal encounter like that. But you have to approach it with reason. Otherwise, you're going to just make yourself look foolish or, oh, we lost Chet. I guess
Probably.
probably just, he said what he wanted to say. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's, and like I said, I kind of wanted to talk about, you know, the Patterson Gimlin film, because this is like the original, you know, paranormal supernatural thing. This is what really started it all. I mean, yeah, Nessie's photo was taken first and stuff like that. It's true. But this is where people started talking about it. You know, Patterson and Gimlin was where, you know, the whole thing started. I mean, hell, the very image, that image right there on the screen, that is the emblem, the symbol of cryptozoology. You know, the Bigfoot with the arms out. Which, by the way, those don't look like human proportioned arms to me.
The arms are very long.
Yeah, those don't look... I mean, I guess it could be a person in a suit, but I want to point out, like, the bishop was saying how, like, you would need John Carpenter himself, you know, with the Thing level technology and prosthetics to make this. And I don't even think Carpenter was even making movies back in '67. Was he even born then?
No, I think he was probably a little kid or a young man.
Yeah, he was.
Maybe he was making films in the 70s. I'm not sure, but
67.
I mean, he wasn't out there in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
We're talking 56 years ago. He wasn't out in the middle of the woods, and he wouldn't have. It is normally a very jumpy film. They have stabilized it.
Yeah.
And it's very short. I mean, it's less than a minute. Nobody would spend all that time and the amount of money it would have taken. These are just two guys. I'll admit they did go out there looking for Bigfoot. They were Bigfoot enthusiasts.
Yeah.
But these are just two good old boys out camping.
And
they brought their camera.
Now, in the full footage that we showed, there's actually a point where I think it's Patterson was the one holding the film. And he actually, stumbles or trips or almost drops the camera.
Yep, he fell off the horse.
The
horse smelled her, and the horse was giving him trouble, and he fell off the horse and grabbed the camera, and then he's running across a rocky riverbed, creek, and he's stumbling.
Yeah.
And he told Gimlin to hold my horse, and he went after her. And it's a very jumpy, jumbly film.
Yeah, and, you know, it's something that always bothered me is, like, you know, the technology of the time. People take technology for granted. You know, like, we have a stupidly nice camera pointed at me right now. The technology that they had when they filmed this was a potato by comparison.
Yep.
You know? And you're going to tell me that this guy had this extremely expensive, extremely clunky Flintstone-age piece of technology, and he was going to juggle it around and risk damaging it for authenticity? Really?
Now, it was a handheld size. I mean, it wasn't much bigger than, you know, the VHS video cameras. But, yeah, I mean, he's out there with raw film, out in the middle of nowhere. And he can't back it up and pause it and focus it and stand it. I mean, all that stuff that everybody's so used to, it wasn't. He had to grab it and pull the lens cap off and push the start button, and then it was up to him to be the tripod and keep it in frame.
Yeah.
And then he was at the end of his film, so he
had to
didn't
stop.
get very much.
Yeah. Now, hold on one second here. Mr. Bishop, you claim you actually went out hunting a Bigfoot, Mr. Bishop? In the 90s, I worked with an older guy that was in a group that went out hunting Bigfoot, not to kill it, but to watch. Claimed to have seen them, but wouldn't tell me where. That was something that happened, Mr.
They're everywhere.
Well, yeah, they're all, yeah. I mean, every continent has its version of hairy.
Every single, all the states have them. All the way from Washington down the West Coast, across and up in the middle United States, down in Florida. I mean, they have different names.
Yeah.
And there are people that track them. Depending on the weather and the climate, they need to be somewhere with rain, with lots of water. They're up in Canada, off in the little islands off of Canada. A lot of people were saying, well, they can't be over there on those little islands. How do they get there? And then they show a bear swimming across to the island. I mean, you can see the island. The bears can swim it, so why can't Bigfoot?
Why couldn't? Yeah, an ape might have an easier time doing it even. But
And they do have video of apes that can swim and do swim.
Oh yeah, no.
Orangutan. I mean.
What are those one monkeys in Tibet? The ones that will literally just lay around in hot springs.
The snow monkeys, they're in the hot springs.
Snow monkeys, yeah. I don't know what their actual name is.
Oh, you have to ask your little brother.
Oh, I'm sure he could tell us. He knows everything about monkeys.
Yeah.
Oak Island. Oak Island, Tara? Tara just randomly mentioned Oak Island. Oak
there's
Island?
no reason why they couldn't be there.
I've not heard of Oak Island.
They're looking wherever there's a food source and fresh water.
Well, yeah, I'd imagine it would take a
So,
lot of water for a big body like that. These creatures are usually, 10-ish feet tall? Just under?
Anywhere from 6 to 10 feet. 8 foot is their average, but they fish. They fish like a bear fishes.
Yeah.
So they're up there in rivers fishing. They've got people that have seen them fishing, pulling fish out of the water just like a bear would. And they hunt deer, boar, elk, all that big stuff. And then they can turn around and eat the pine nuts and berries like a bear does.
Yeah.
And anywhere that there might be a cave system, they can live in the caves. They're always knocking trees down, and they're saying that structures are kind of looking like structures are built, kind of like teepee structures or lean-to structures.
Yeah.
So they like the hidden cover of the forest, but they need the rain. Those big giant fur coats, they can live up in the snow, no problem.
Yeah. There's stories all the time about Bigfoots up in the Rockies in Colorado, too.
Yep.
About the Bigfoot that's had 4 legs.
Oh, that's all.
I'm sorry, what?
There was a story, this couple, I guess they were out on like a family picnic or something, and there's this big old field over here with a tree line between them and this field. And they hear this ungodly crying coming from the field. And they get over there and they see a Bigfoot running through the field, and he's got a boar. And then there are a bunch of boars still in the field where the Bigfoot has broken their legs so they can't leave, and he can come back later and get them.
Yeah. See, that's another thing my grandpa used to always say is, they are not dumb. They are very intelligent, and that's one of the reasons that you don't see or hear of them all that much, because they're smart enough to know to avoid people. Which, working in retail, I completely understand.
Yeah. All wild animals want to avoid us. I mean, everything does.
I will say
there
I
are
have
some things that are big enough to stand up to us, like a bear or a cougar, but Most of them, they want to. Yeah, they don't want to deal with us.
No. Although I will say, I have never so desperately wanted to avoid a person at work that I spread my butt cheeks and ran away. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The buttocks is insufficiently spread. I will go to my grave.
Yep.
You know, there's trying to debunk something, and then there is just being desperate to say that it's not real. And it's one of those points where it's like, that's not even skepticism, man. That is just blatant refusal to see what is in front of you. But
they had a clip on TikTok. These people are at the zoo looking at the apes, the big gorillas.
yeah.
And this gorilla got tired of the people, and he just got up and walked away. On two legs, just like a person. He walked about 50 feet until whoever's filming stopped. But he simply got up and walked away, and they were all astonished that he walked that far on two legs. It's not that he can't. Of course he can. But he was so desperate to get away from all those people, taking pictures and making noise. I'm out of here. He just got up and walked away.
Yeah.
And I do not recall seeing his butt cheek spread.
Well, but yeah. Thank you for coming on the show and talking about this. But we have lots to still go over tonight, so I'm gonna let you go. Thank you again.
And I'm gonna enjoy the show.
All right. I love you, Ma.
I love you.
Bye.
Good night.
That was Christina Chester, my dear mother and resident Bigfoot expert. In spite of some technical difficulties, she can tell you everything about Bigfoot, but she can also make a computer cuss and turn itself off. That's a thing that happened. But anyway, yeah, the Patterson Gimlin film, despite being one of the oldest pieces of footage of any kind of oldest evidence, I should say, of any kind of cryptozoology, they just can't knock this thing down. Everything, falls short. And in a way, I'm gonna be the bitter, snide guy. Even if hypothetically someone came forward and actually disproved it, like actually was able to, whether other than some obnoxious nonsense about butt cheeks. Personally, I'm just gonna say, the genie's out of the bottle. This icon, this image that's on the screen right now, it really did inspire generation upon generation of explorers and actual researchers and actual experts, and so your butt cheeks may not be spread, Patty, but thank you for being you. We'll try not to make jokes about your boobs anymore, but we're gonna shift gears and talk about another iconic piece of footage, probably the oldest, at least that I know of, piece of crypto evidence, what's sometimes referred to as the surgeon's photo. Now, I guarantee nobody knows what I'm talking about because almost no one calls it that, actually. We just call it Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. The original photograph. This photo was taken in, I believe it was 1930 is when they claimed it was taken originally. It was published in the newspaper, and it was sold to the original photographer for £100. Now, I'm not sure what that equates to. I mean, that sounds like a sizable amount of money. You're lucky that I don't have a replacement. Anyway, they sold it for about £100, which I want to say it was 1934. I'm not sure what that would equate to. I mean, I'm think it would be a pretty good amount for the 1930s. £100, that'd be pretty good. But what's funny is this photo was like cursed, because the individual who sold it to the newspaper claimed his name was Dr. Robert Kenneth Wilson, which is why it became known as the surgeon's photo, because Robert was a surgeon. Here's the problem. When his name was tied to this photograph that appeared in newspapers, excuse me, because remember, everybody, Nessie was a legend well before this photo was taken. I'll get to that in a second, Tara. Nessie was a legend well before then. But the thing is that when this photo was taken and put in the newspapers under the name of Dr. Robert Wilson, his medical license was revoked. He was left financially ruined. Because, I mean, he spent his whole life learning how to be a surgeon. But then the medical community saw his name tied to a fairy tale photo, and they said, you know what? If you believe this stuff, we can't trust you to save a human life. So they actually, he wasn't a surgeon anymore. They stripped him of his license, and he spent years in it basically being destitute. He had to live with his family. He eventually actually did get back on his feet. He enlisted into the army and fought in World War II. He eventually actually became an artillery officer. In spite of his past, he actually had to hide it and lie about it and say, "Oh no, that was a different Robert Wilson. Don't know that guy. Don't know what that is about." But I mean, it took him years. It took him a world war to, get his life back together. This photo destroyed his credibility and everything. Then, flash forward to 1994. A lawyer, who did not give his name, by the way, he remained anonymous, claimed that while he was handling the final affairs of one of his clients who had died, he found a letter, which was a written confession that his client and I quote, team of conspirators, oogie boogie conspirators. Ooh, I know, scary stuff, right? That a team of conspirators had faked the original surgeon photo. There's just several problems with this logic. First of all, Dr. Robert Wilson died in 1969. By the way, 2 years after the Patterson-Gimlin film, by the way. Everything weird happened in the 60s. You ever notice that? All these cryptids, all these things, it's always the 60s for some reason. I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic though. Anyway, back to my point. So, Robert died literally decade upon decade upon decade, before this supposed revelation that it was all a conspiracy. Everyone listed in this letter, by the way, this team of conspirators, all of them were dead. None of them could verify anything, which is why we have the phrase, the ghost that only I can see and hear. I have all this evidence. I have a witness. He died 17 years ago, though. So you're just going to have to trust me when I say it. And I'm going to explode here. I'm going to go on a rant real quick. So hold on, boys and girls. It annoys me because I tell a story that when I was a child, something, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a ghost or a demon or a goblin, or I don't know what the hell it was. I know that a pale hand reached out from underneath my bed and grabbed my leg. And it felt so cold that it burned. Sorry, I'm trying to see the chat because it's moving around and stuff. Anyway, I tell that story. And the response is, well, that's just a test. That's a witness testimony. That's not substantial evidence of the paranormal. Some douchebag who didn't even have the guts to say his name, some anonymous lawyer, which, by the way, why are we believing a lawyer? Comes out, says that a dead client, again, not going to name it because, credibility and all that stuff, wrote down a letter that he kept in his personal folders saying, oh yeah, me and my friends faked this to totally screw over this Dr. Roberts guy back, 60 plus years ago because lol. And that's totally acceptable. That you can take to the bank. I'm a liar. I can't be trusted. But this dude hiding his name, talking about dead people, completely credible. That just ticks me off so bad. Late hard. Hey, Dino! Hello, sir. Wonderful to see you here for a change. Our friend over, Dino, from the Late Horror Show. After this show, he has overnight streams, that are great for. Great. I sleep with him. I can't sleep in the quiet. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here exploding with anger about this obnoxious, supposed debunking of the Nessie photo, and then suddenly Dino's here. It's like, oh hi. Yeah, you caught me at you came in at an awkward time, Dino, but glad to have you here. Always, yeah. But yeah, no, that's something that always it gets me so bad. It just ticks me off. How, the second it's a dead person, oh, well, we can't question it. But, I'm willing to show you my face. I'm willing to say my name. The only thing I don't tell you is where I freaking live. I'm questionable. You can't take my word for it. That's, that's circumstantial evidence. That's just a witness testimony. It's not good enough. But some dude hiding his name behind a dead man with a document that nobody has seen. I haven't seen pictures of this supposed letter. I've seen pictures of Nessie. I've seen pictures of Bigfoot. I've talked to people who saw Bigfoot. But all that is not as good as this one supposed lawyer from 1994. And like I said, I warned you guys, I'm going to go on a rant because this is something that really angers me. Because I've heard it 1,000 times. Well, I mean, that's just your grandpa talking. That's not proof of aliens. That's not proof of ghosts. That's just a story your grandma told you. Really? They were liars. They can't be trusted. But some douchebag from 1994 who wrote into the goddamn World Global whatever the crap tabloid piece of shit, he's gospel. Hiding his name, hiding his face behind the reputation of a dead person. Ugh. Now, for the record, I wasn't there in 1934. I'm not that old. Actually, very well put, chat. Yeah, people... You ever notice that? People are more inclined to believe a negative thing than a positive. They'll if you say something is debunked, they'll just take your word on it. Okay, yeah, it's debunked. Okay, we settled it. But you say you have proof of it. That they want to question. They never question debunking. They never question, closing the matter. That's a very good question, Mr. Bishop. Was he actually a lawyer? We don't know. He wouldn't say his name. He wouldn't say his name. And he wouldn't say the name of the client.
Our Bigfooter expert earlier didn't say his name either.
That's a very good point, actually. I hope you didn't pay him. How much did you pay for that footage? I will fire you.
Didn't pay him in money.
Stop talking. Anyway, yeah, but that's kind of the point that I was talking about tonight. It's like, it's annoying because you have these pieces of evidence, and then suddenly, decades later, after everyone involved is dead and no one can attest anything or say anything, suddenly, oh, by the way, it was a hoax. It was fake. You know, and it's like, no, like I said, I have a picture of Nessie. I can see it. I can see the picture. It was on screen a second ago. There she is. I can see it. Now, could that be fake? Yeah, it could be fake. Okay, fine. But here's the thing. I have that. It's tangible. All we have about this being a hoax is a tabloid claim that was made by someone who wouldn't even give his name. So, you know, I'm going to call BS on that. It's like, okay, where's this supposed letter and this written confession? We know where Nessie is. We know where the surgeon photo is. We know where Patterson Gimlin was filmed. We can go right there. We could stand in that exact spot. But you can't say that about this lawyer guy. Where was he when he found this supposed written confession? I don't know. And I've spent the entire day reading about this crap. Ugh. I warned you I was going to get mad. I told you I was going to rant. Why don't you ever believe me when I say that? Kristoff, you don't go on rants. You're so good at keeping your composure and your patience and stuff. Buddy, never trust a lawyer. Yeah, never trust a lawyer. Literally, in the history of humanity, the one single use we have found for lawyers is using them as a distraction during a T-Rex attack. And I swear, if any of you don't get that reference, I'm going to be so disappointed in you. Yeah, people still see Nessie today. I personally have a couple of different theories about Nessie myself. I love the skeptic. Ask yourself one question. How many coincidences does it take to not be... That's a good question, Chet. After how many coincidences are you ready to say that it's not a coincidence? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. It's like, did they even have the tools in 1934 to make a device like this? Supposedly a propeller run submarine and a wood. I think they said it was a wooden. See, I threw the ball and Tara just caught it like Tom Brady. There you go. Good job, Tara. But no, I have a couple different theories about Nessie. Personally, I don't think Nessie is one creature. Yeah, I personally think Nessie, as we know her, is actually several. Sorry, I'm just going to go on a quick little side note here. There are underground channels and canals that go from Loch Ness out into the ocean. My personal theory is that these creatures, I guess they're plesiosaur or plesiosaurs, use the loch as kind of a nursery. So when we see Nessie, we're seeing the babies. And then when they get big enough, they go under they go through these channels out into the ocean. How funny would that be if it turns out that the monster of Monterey was also the Loch Ness monster? I mean, it would make sense. No, because it would have to have gone all the way around South America. It wouldn't have been able to get. Well, maybe. I don't think that I don't think the monster of Monterey was also the Loch Ness monster, but I do think, yeah, that's a good point from my mother. You know, some places they live by being crypto hotspots. You know, Point Pleasant, they have a statue. They have a big statue of the Mothman. Which is funny. You wouldn't think they would put a monument to a creature they blame for destroying a bridge and killing, what was it, 46 people? I remember when we talked about the Mothman, we had to look it up. You wouldn't think they would build a monument to the creature they think killed, you know, a bunch of people. But there is a monument.
46.
46, I was right. 46 people, and they made a monument for him. But yeah, I'm getting all kinds of all over the place. But yeah, the surgeon photo hoax claim always just ticked me off so much. And it still does, I mean. It's like, okay. And here's the thing. Okay, fine. Let's pretend for a second that this anonymous lawyer talking about a dead man's estate was telling the truth, and it was all just that these group of people decided they didn't like this Dr. Robert guy and decided to screw his life over completely. Let's pretend that that's the case. The only reason that they thought to do this in the first place was because of the fact that there is tons and tons and tons of witness testimonies of seeing the Loch Ness Monster. The only reason they thought to fake this photo in the first place would be if there was something there to inspire them. You know, that's always one of the places I've always said I wanted to go. I've always said if I could travel, I wouldn't mind actually seeing Loch Ness. Supposedly, it's really pretty. I just suddenly remembered. Anyone remember the Weekly World News? Was that what it was called? Weekly World News. I remember there was one issue I saw when I was a child. I want to say it was in like 97, 98, I think it was. It was when Bill Clinton was president, because it mentioned Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton bought the Loch Ness Monster. Had this picture of the Loch Ness Monster being like lifted up by a crane out of the water. And it just had in big bold print, President Bill Clinton buys Loch Ness Monster. Oh, I wanted to get that issue so bad. I loved that thing. I loved the Weekly World News. Even though Bat Boy scared the tar out of me as a kid. When I was a child, he scared me actually really bad. He was creepy. He was a creepy little bugger. Anyway, though. Yeah, I'm getting all kinds of off topic. I'm sorry, but that's what happens when I lose my temper, you know. I just start talking and... but you know... wow, has it really been an hour? Boy, howdy, time flies when you're enjoying stuff and you're talking to people and you're raising your blood pressure exponentially somehow. National Enquirer, that's another one. I don't know if I don't know if they're the same. And they just like changed their name eventually, but I do remember National Enquirer. I also remember Weekly World News. You know what's funny is that still exists. Oh, something's... Whoa, mama! Loch Ness Monster captured. Bad Boo's kind of cute. You say so. You believe this weirdo? Anyway. Tourist money, big business. Yeah. Cryptids are kind of good for business. But anyway, you know, we're gonna calm down and stop being upset, and I'm gonna chill out by talking about maybe my favorite example of a hoaxer, a debunker who just completely fell on his sword. When I was doing the research for this, it made me laugh so hard. And part of it was I was up really early and everyone else was still asleep. And I didn't want to wake up everyone else in the house. So I'm trying to not bust up laughing at how horrible this was. But yeah, I want to laugh. So I'm going to invite you to laugh with me. The infamous Gable film. Which is funny. The Gable film is not funny in itself. Do we have it? We do. We do have it? Okay. Everyone, we're going to be going quiet for a second again because there's no audio on this. But we actually have the Gable film. And if you sit tight for a second, Choopy, if you want to cross the wires and get us all set up, could we please play the Gable film? Holy yeah. That is the infamous Gable film. So here's the thing about the Gable film. You can tell by how it looks. She's an expert on that one too. Now a lot of people say that this is a dog man or a werewolf. I've heard some people say it was a chupacabra. I don't know about being a chupacabra, but anyway. So here's the funny story about this one. This video surfaced supposedly. It was found. someone actually found this camera with the tape still inside it and turned it over to the police. And eventually it was leaked out into the public onto websites like this one, video sites like YouTube. And it became known as the Gable film because supposedly this was the Gable family. Or was Gable the one who found was it? Yeah, the family. Yeah, it was the Gable family. Now, in 2007, and you won't believe this, folks, hold on to your hats because this is like the most incredible information. In 2007, an individual who worked for the History Channel, that incredible bastion of accuracy and credibility and integrity, he came forward claiming that he had made the video and uploaded it as a prank. Coincidentally, he not only worked on, he worked for the History Channel, he specifically worked on the show Monster Quest. And hold on, I have this information. I have the information here. Yeah, he had worked for the History Channel. He specifically worked on Monster Quest. Now, unfortunately, obviously, I can't show you the footage from it because it's copyrighted and stuff. But his name was, or is actually, he's still around, Mike Agrasa? Mike Agrasa. I think is how you pronounce it. And if I'm pronouncing it wrong, I don't care. He can be offended, frankly. Anyway, he came forward claiming he had made it on a prank. And so the History Channel gave him a whole episode of Monster Quest. And the funny thing is, they kind of put him on the spot and they said, well, can you recreate it for us? Can you recreate the footage and everything, you know? And I really wish that I could show you the footage from that episode. But I know I can't, and I'm sure that they wouldn't appreciate the way I'm talking here. But his episode gave rise to the term claim versus admit. Because there's a difference there. He claimed that he did it. Unfortunately, when they put the money to where his mouth was, he failed to recreate supposedly his own video, literally on every level. He claimed that, he did it himself. He was the creature that you saw at the end of that footage. He was just wearing a ghillie suit. And they asked him, well, do you still have the ghillie suit? He said yes. And it wasn't the same color. He commented the kind of photo equipment that he used to make the footage. None of it was right. It's funny, actually. I almost wanted to get the bishop up and have him watch this because it was like, I'm not an expert in photography. I don't know that stuff. He's our cameraman. And what is this? What are we putting up here? This is a still from the Gable film, right? Okay. The creature in question, what they call the dog man. They say it's a canine, a dog man, or a werewolf kind of creature. It was the ghillie suit he was wearing wasn't the color like that. It wasn't that dark gray. He stood completely wrong. He stood on his hands and feet, so his butt was way up in the air. This creature, you can clearly see, it's straight-backed. Which, by the way, a human on all fours wouldn't stand like that. So this is not a dude on all fours. Unless he was on his knees, but there's a problem with that too, because you can see the creature run, and if you were on your hands and knees, there would be leg behind your foot. There's nothing behind its feet when it runs. Well, it doesn't really run, it bounds. It like hops, like a primate. He also couldn't recreate it where he said he filmed it, because coincidentally he didn't remember. But he tried to recreate it on a flat surface, like in a parking lot or something. He couldn't do the bouncing thing. He couldn't do the jump anymore. Which, by the way, I dare anyone here, get on your hands and knees. Get on your hands and knees and try to bounce like that. Don't send me your hospital bill, by the way. I will not pay it. Because the human knee would not be able to withstand that kind of impact. On rocky, rough ground like that, you would destroy your kneecaps. You wouldn't be able to walk anymore. Another problem is that he said that he didn't have a mask or anything. He just put the ghillie suit over his head. That creature, you can clearly see ears. And also, the size of that thing's head is massive compared to a human's size compared to our shoulders. Yeah, and nothing at all makes sense about this. He wasn't able to recreate it on any level. Nothing of the footage they made looked close to being the old. But here's the part that actually made me laugh so much I almost was in pain. The big key thing, the reason that you should totally believe this Mike guy. He had a couple really old trucks like the one you saw in the footage. Game over, folks. The mysteries of the universe are solved. Somebody took a picture of an old truck. And he was proud of this. He was like victorious, you know, because, oh, yep, I totally did it. Yeah, I had everybody fooled. Because I have an old truck. That's his evidence. You know what? I have a bruise on my arm, so by that logic, you know, I faked Patterson Gimlin. Yeah, no, I mean,
my dad used to have an old truck.
The bishop's dad had a truck. Mr. Bishop, why did you fake the Gable film? I know. Yeah, Mr. Bishop gets... Mr. Bishop, why would you create such an elaborate conspiracy? How could you betray us all like that, Mr. Bishop? An old truck, everyone. An old truck is proof that he faked the Gable film.
My dad was behind it the whole time.
I can't believe that. I am so betrayed. So betrayed by the bishops. Now, what's funny is one of the things that people say is so credible about the Gable film, there it is, yeah, is the teeth that you see at the end of the footage. What's funny is this is the one piece of the film that I actually doubt the credibility for. Because to be fair, we see a dog in the footage earlier. So they had a dog there. This could be that German Shepherd's mouth. But yeah, no, that is the best looking mouth of if that's a fake dog mouth, that is the best looking fake dog mouth from the 70s that I've ever seen. It looked like a lot of things. Yeah, and this one just made me bust up laughing because, you know, and for the record, I'm just going to say it. You don't have to believe the Gable film is real. It could be a fake. It could be. I actually think it's kind of, again, the teeth are the part that I find questionable because, okay, this dude was attacked by a dog man. He dropped his camera, and the dog man just decided to randomly bite the camera in such a perfect way that you get a shot like right into its mouth. That seems kind of odd. You know, that looks kind of weird. That's the one thing that sticks out to me. But like, yeah, the reason I wanted to talk about it isn't, you know, is it real or is it fake? It's that this dude, this supposed debunker, who worked for the History Channel, Mike, I don't care about your last name. And I don't. I dare him to contact me. I don't care. I think he's a fool, personally. And hey, it's my show, so I can say what I want. Anyway, though, this Mike guy who worked for the History Channel, coincidentally on a show about cryptids, about recreating cryptid footage, just so happened to also make one of the most interesting pieces of crypto footage ever. For no reason. It was a prank. It was a joke, yo. Bro, it was a joke. Laugh. I'm just going to say it. Why on earth? How stupid do you have to be to put the effort that would be required to make a piece of footage like this for literally no reason? Only to then take credit for it and fail at every level to recreate it and embarrass yourself on national television. Okay, no, actually, Tara brings up a good point. Okay, that's interesting. It could have been that they were trying to fight the dog off and hit it with the camera, and that camera just ended up in its mouth. Okay, I didn't think of that. That's actually a good point, Tara. But anyway, like I said, this one just made me laugh so hard that I had to bring it up. And also, it's actually, in my personal opinion, it's a pretty compelling piece of evidence. Because that is not a person on their hands and knees. Because when it bounds, when it jumps and runs, you can see behind its back legs. There's no, what is this called? The calf? Yeah, there's no calves. A person on their hands and knees, you would see the calves. You know? And there's no calves. That creature is on its hands and feet, which a human couldn't do and keep its back straight. If you stood on your hands and feet, unless you're some Vietnam, Korean War veteran whose son sells propane and propane accessories, your shins are going to get in the way. And your butt is going to be way up in the air. All right? So no, that is not a person on their hands and feet. And again, maybe they could have been able to bound a little bit on their hands and knees on that rough terrain and not somehow cripple themselves. But look how fast it moves. That thing is down that hill in split seconds. Like, a lot of people don't take into consideration. The Gable film is extremely short. Okay? So, tell you what. Find a way to stand on your hands and knees and hide your back legs. The back of your legs. Fine. Bound on your hands and knees down rocky terrain, faster than any human alive, and not cripple yourself. And then wear a dog suit that doesn't look like a dog suit, and you too can have some of the best cryptid footage of all time. I don't know why you would go through so much effort, but you know, hey, weird fetish, but you do you. Okay, real quick, Tara, to address you. That is not a child. That is not a child. I'm sorry, that is not a child. No, she's saying in the chat, like, well, I did that as a kid. Okay. That is not a child. Okay. You were not that big. No child is that big. You can see it standing by trees. This thing is huge. Honestly, aside from, it kind of looks like a bear, but it moves like a primate. It does that hopping thing that you see like with orangutans or gorillas. We were talking about gorillas earlier too. But I wanted to bring all that up just because personally, and I'm sure somebody, you know, the guy out there in the bushes is going to complain, oh, you just want to believe it so you see flaws in his claim. No. He sucks. He failed to prove that he had made it up himself. This guy, this Mike Agra, whoever the hell, I don't care about your last name. This dude, he is the Alfred Parker of debunkers. Which is to say he's the worst. I shouldn't say that. I actually like Alfred. Alfred's one of my favorite historical characters, I think. I'm sorry, he just always makes me laugh. It's a tragic thing. It wasn't funny what happened to him, but yeah. He literally stood in court and the judge called him too stupid to be faking it. Anyway, back to my point. I just wanted to bring this one up because it always makes me laugh. I personally think it's actually very compelling footage. I don't buy the claims that it was faked. He had every opportunity to fake it, and he sucked at it. It's also kind of suspicious that this guy who coincidentally works for the History Channel also is, coincidentally, unrelated, the guy who made this fake footage while he's working on a show about cryptid sightings. Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you. Part of it is because of, he worked for the people who gave us Ancient Aliens. That by itself makes me question you. Sean's still in Greece on his expedition currently, so he can't be here. But he would be having like a blood pressure problem right now if we mention this. Yep. Bread goes in, toast comes out. I must have made the Dogman footage. Perfect logic. We're just creating a pantheon of things that we don't like around here. We have the History Channel, West Virginia. By the way, stay out of West Virginia. But anyway, before we wrap this up, because we are getting we've been here for a good while. There is one last thing that I want to bring up. And this is something that kind of happened while I was doing research. Has anyone noticed how actually difficult it is to do research on cryptid creatures and stuff like that? I mean, I'm dead serious. Like, oh, them's fighting words. Oh, them's fighting. Anyway, no, like, look, the bishop just a couple of weeks ago were saying how, like, it took you ages to find that original photo of the chupacabra. Do we have it still?
We do.
Yeah. Yeah. This thing. I remember this thing was all over TV where I grew up in Southern California. Everyone knew this photo. And when you try to look up the chupacabra photo now on, like, web crawler or DuckDuckGo or Google or anything like that, you're not going to find this photo. It's going to be buried underneath, and here we go. Hold your pants, kiddies. It's going to be buried under about 1 million other pictures of raccoons, rabbits, and coyotes with mange. I had a coyote hybrid with mange. I can personally tell you that getting mange does not give you superpowers. It does not turn you into a freaking kaiju. You do not become a demon because you get mange. It is a skin condition. Now, granted, that dog in particular was out of her bonkin' mind. I'll give you that. But it wasn't because of the mange. Okay? This is not an anything with mange. But if you try to look up chupacabra photo, it is buried. It is hidden. It is suppressed by nonsensical stuff about mange. Similar stuff happens if you look up the Jersey Devil. When you look up the Jersey Devil, it's buried under stuff about a goddamn hockey team. I see you over there. Oh, God. Ah! Choopy, everybody. He just loves to jump out at me. You put that back! Evil little creature. Anyway. Whoa. Gluttony, you okay back there? Good girl. Stay. She likes to be up high. I think she thinks she's a cat. Anyway. Maybe something went wrong when I brought her back using the Necronomicon. Anyway. Yeah. Mr. Bishop, honestly, I'm going to say it. Put your tinfoil hats on, children. It does kind of seem like a conspiracy here, doesn't it? You want to look up information about the Jersey Devil, and they show you stuff about, oh, by the way, here's a hockey team. Don't you want to talk about that instead of this strange, monstrous creature that terrorized the country? Guess what? Through the 60s and the 70s? Wouldn't you rather talk about that? Peterson Gimli film? No. You don't want to. You don't want photos of Bigfoot or to learn about Bigfoot. No. Here's this father of cryptozoology, Professor Bernard Huevos Rancheros, with his spread butt cheeks theory. Yeah, that's what you want to look up, right? That's what you're trying to find. This is the most MIB BS that I've ever heard. And I used to read the Weekly World News. I'm telling you, dude, it's kind of creepy. I'm not joking. It is kind of creepy to think about it. That, like, there's all these topics that just a few years ago even, everyone heard of the Jersey Devil. Everyone heard of the Mothman. Everyone knew about Bigfoot and Nessie. And suddenly, in the 90s and early 2000s, you have all these schmucks come along claiming, oh, I faked that. Oh, that can't be real. Oh, I have this letter from a dead man. Oh, the butt cheeks aren't spread. That can't be the real chupacabra. You can't see its butt cheeks. And actually, the bishop brought up a good point about the Patterson Gimlin film. How would you know if its butt was spread? The Patterson Gimlin film, you see the creature from the side. Now, at the end, yeah, you can kind of see it behind it, but most of the footage, you can't see its butt in the first place. You see its hip. Or I guess I should say her. You see her hip. You don't see her ass. You see her boobs, but not her ass. Yeah, Tara's right. They're trying to Jedi mind trick us. These are not the cryptids you're looking for. Sorry, Famine. This is not the chupacabra you're looking for. Bull pucky! Bull to the pucky! Okay? The chupacabra is not a coyote with mange. It is described as being a 4-foot tall creature that can go bipedal or on all fours. It has quills. Sometimes it is described as having greenish skin or black. In the photo, you can see that it has black, with large fangs that protrude out of its mouth. It has tiny forearms, but supposedly has big, thick back legs, useful for jumping or running very suddenly. Yeah. And I don't understand where you get this crap from. And honestly, I'm kind of annoyed about it. If I want to look up the Jersey Devil, I don't give a rat's ass about a freaking hockey team, okay? I don't care. I do not do lumberjack stuff. I don't care about hockey. Which is creepy that we're bringing up lumberjacks again. The logging industry. I was planning to end on this conspiracy theory that, internet searches are intentionally burying information about cryptids to hide them. I did not foresee that big lumber would become a factor. But the scary thing is, it's making sense. Seriously, has anyone before this show even heard the term big lumber? But it exists. It's a thing. We use wood for literally everything. Again, like my mother said, to toilet paper. If we didn't have the lumber industry, we wouldn't be making toilet paper, for crying out loud. Big lumber. Big lumber. Everyone talks about big pharma being evil and stuff. It's like, you know what? No, I am convinced. I believe my mother on this. Big Lumber's the one I'm suspicious of now. I want to ask some questions to those lumberjacks in black. Which is terrifying. The MIB are supposed to be really dangerous and armed with all kinds of nasty stuff. Could you imagine them also being strong enough to be lumberjacks on top of all their other stuff? If I go missing, by the way, if I'm not back next week, you all know what happened. We are still live, right? We haven't lost the feed?
Yeah, we're good.
We're good. Okay, good. Because, no, this is, like, sincerely something that bugs me, and it doesn't make any damn sense. You know, growing up, I knew about the Jersey Devil and the Mothman and Chupacabra and all these other creatures. But what's interesting is, like, you ask younger people, you ask kids even, and they've never heard of the Mothman. That was something that bugged the tar out of me. Our first episode, I actually had people go, I've never heard of the Mothman. You've never heard of the Mothman. He was blamed for killing dozens of people and bringing an entire bridge down. He ruled an entire town in a grip of fear and terror that the world's greatest dictators wish they could have done. And you've never heard of it? Well, yeah, because if you Google Mothman, you get a bunch of freaking movies with freaking Christopher Walken or some shit. An axe that makes you forget. Yeah, if someone had a big axe, I might forget what they want me to forget. But no, like, yeah, no. You look up the Mothman, you hear more about a movie or something than you do about Point Pleasant. You know, Mr. Bishop, you might not be wrong on that. There seems to be this active will, and they're screaming outside now. Off in the desert there, I can hear screaming. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but anyway, you know, they don't want us talking about Chupacabra. They don't want us talking about Bigfoot. They don't want us talking about the Mothman or the Jersey Devil. They want us to talk about frickin' hockey. I'm sorry. It's creepy and it's weird. But you know what? Still gonna do it. And if you don't like it, Congress or whoever's in charge, you know what? I got a huge desert out here. Find someplace comfortable to die angry about it for all I care. We're going to be back talking about this all the damn time. You can't stop me. And I'm not scared of you guys. Not scared of some damn lumberjacks freaking with sunglasses. But, yeah. Oh. Choopy, you're not funny. You notice I'm not laughing, Choopy? Yeah, there's a reason that I'm not laughing. Keep up the good work. You know, it's funny that Mr. Bishop and Chet are my two favorites. They never miss a show. They're always here. We're going to have a battle of the dads to see who's my biggest fan. The lumberjacks are coming. Yeah, probably should head inside and avoid them. Oh boy. You know, there's a topic. American folk stories? Maybe. You know what? Yeah, what the hell? Let's do that. Next week, we'll talk about American folk legends, like Paul Bunyan and Johnny Appleseed and stuff like that. That'd be a good show. Talk about that stuff. Unless, of course, they don't want us to. In which case, we're going to talk about it even more then. But in the meantime, thank you all for coming. Thanks again to my dear mother for being on the show. We're going to give you a link here in the chat to head on over to Dino's channel, the Late Late Horror Show, for his overnight radio broadcasts. Can't recommend him enough. Wonderful man. Wonderful channel. But yeah, that's it. Ooh, excuse me. So sorry about that. That's it for me. On behalf of my doggos, Famine, Gluttony, Choopy, who loves to chew on the wires, the Bishop, who is still grounded because of that expert footage, thank you all. And as always, keep checking the shadows.